Mariners win 8-2. They improve to 79 and 75 on the season. Then they take the first of a 3-game series against the Texas Rangers. Go over the scoring plays. Josh Rojas homers to right off of Jacob deGrom. 1-0 in the middle of the third. Texas gets 2 in the fourth. Nate Lowe singles to center to score Josh Smith and Adolis Garcia. It's 2-1 at the end of 4. Fifth inning, though, Julio Rodriguez clobbers a home run to left to score J.P. Crawford and Victor Robles. That makes it 4-2. And then in the 7th, Julio goes the opposite way. Homers to right to score Victor Robles. 6-2 at the end of 7. And hey, why not add some insurance in the 8th? Josh Rojas hits a sacrifice fly to score Justin Turner. And Victor Robles hits a sacrifice fly to right to score Dylan Moore. Mariners win 8-2. Your negatives... You didn't get any help today. Well, that's not entirely true. But the 2 teams that are in the spots right now didn't help you. The Twins win in extras over the Red Sox, 4-2, I believe, the final score of that game. And I'll just confirm this. Okay, Google, what's the score of the Astros game?
The Astros were 9-7 today against the Angels.
Astros win. So you didn't gain ground on either of those teams. And the division's looking pretty dead. Pretty darn dead, you know. If you sweep Houston and you get it down to maybe a game, then maybe you can hope for the best, especially since you have the tiebreaker. The wild card just looks so much more likely. Now, neither of them look likely. Neither one of them are terribly likely. But neither one of them are completely dead. Any negatives from the offense? Luke Raley had a tough one. Kind of due for some bad games. He's been just so good. Big dumper, drew a walk, but not his best game at the plate. That's pretty much it. Let's talk about the positives, but first let's thank Simply Seattle for being an amazing positive in my life, and hopefully yours too, because they provide great stuff for the Mariners, the Seahawks, to Kraken, the Storm, Sonics, Huskies. Use code MOLLYWOP15, MOLLYWHOP15. It saves 15% off your order. It's a great deal from great people. Link in the description. Let's start with George Kirby. Not nearly as good as he was last time, but good enough. Just occasionally catching the plate a little bit too much. Like that single to Nate Lowe. He doesn't want that pitch to run that far over the plate. You know, you want that a little bit more inside. So it's a nice piece of hitting, but you know, there have just been a little too many of those for me to call George Kirby's season a massive step forward. But this version of George Kirby is pretty good. And when you consider the fact that he's probably your 5th starter right now, which is such an insane compliment to the names above him, more than insult to George Kirby. Yeah, you'll take it. And boy, does he like pitching against Texas. Like that 2 runs, I can't remember the last time he gave up 2 runs against Texas. He's just been absolutely phenomenal against them. Trent Thornton gets the job done. JT Chargois gets the job done. Bizzardo makes it interesting. Not really interesting because it was, you know, he loaded the bases. He gave up 3 hits, but he doesn't give up any runs. And that's the only time you should be using Eduardo Bizzardo. If the game is within 4 on either side, no, unless it's an absolute emergency. But the pitching was solid today. Not a ton of strikeouts, but through strikes, you know, big shock that George Kirby threw strikes. I know. But I thought they did a solid job. Offensively, great to see Josh Rojas contribute, man. You know, he got off such to a rip-roaring start. And since then has been, outside of his defense, which I think has been very solid, it's been pretty bad. Third base is somewhere you really got to look to upgrade, even if Josh Rojas finishes these next 8 games on an absolute tear. No, Josh Rojas is someone you got to upgrade on, but big helper today, getting that home run off Jacob deGrom, who, by the way, Jacob deGrom, man, I just wish that guy could have stayed healthy because Jacob deGrom right now is pretty easily the best player who I don't think has a legitimate shot at the Hall of Fame. That could change. And your mileage may vary on legitimate shot. It's hard for me to see him getting in if some of these other guys haven't. But when he has been healthy, there's been no pitcher better that I have seen in my lifetime. And I've seen some really good ones. Really, really good ones. But it is nice to see Jacob deGrom pitch well. I'm excited to see him pitch against somebody else other than the Mariners. I think he faces the Angels on Friday. So, but anyway, it was great to see Josh Rojas contribute off a guy like that. Great to see JP Crawford get on twice. Justin Turner gets on twice, scores a run, did strike out 3 times, but Justin Turner against Jacob deGrom is not a fair matchup. Rosarina gets on a couple of times. Great game from Victor Robles, although I will say he got very fortunate with one of his bunts. That was a very bad bunt, but it ended up working out just fine. He scores a couple runs. He steals that base. It's going to be so funny that the only caught stealing he's going to have for the Seattle Mariners is going to be the worst decision, not the worst blunder, the worst decision I've ever seen a base runner make. That's the only time he's been caught. Insane. And Julio. Fantastic. It's so nice to see that slugging percentage in the 400s. Now, is 401 good enough? Not even close. We need Julio to be in that 470, 490 range, right? 401 isn't good enough, but it's so nice to see that it's not in the 3s. And we'll see if it ends up in the 3s. It's just nice to see. 268, 321, 401 is not what we signed up for. 18 homers is not what we signed up for. RBI, incredibly flawed stat, but 59 RBI, not what we signed up for. Even I think it's 22 steals, not what we signed up for. But I have seen just enough of these kind of games from Julio Rodriguez to, in my opinion, your mileage, you talk about your mileage may vary, to call this a successful season for him. Because I don't ignore the defense. A lot of you do. And that's fine. It's harder to compartmentalize the defense, I think. It isn't for me. It isn't for me. Because I'm a dork who covers this stuff for a living. And Julio Rodriguez is, I watch every center fielder. Top 3. Somewhere along that range. As a 23-year-old. Yes, I want the streakiness to be less streaky. The streakiness isn't always bad, by the way, because games like this are so much more helpful than games when you go 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Did he single-handedly win them this game? No. Do they come even close to winning this game without him? And I know I'm asking myself these easy questions. No. And are the Seattle Mariners still in contention, whether you believe it or not, without Julio Rodriguez? No. And he's a 23-year-old. I got accused of hero worship by someone the other day. Don't remember who. Doesn't matter. Okay. Sure. Julio Rodriguez is one of my favorite Seattle Mariners. And if I am victim of being overly loving of Julio Rodriguez, a really good human being who I will always remember, the very first introduction for most Seattle Mariner fans. Most, not all, maybe not the people watching this, most was the president of the Mariners, literally talking about his inability to speak English. So yes, I do have a special place in my heart for Julio Rodriguez. And no, I don't care if you agree with me or not. It's insane to me how many people, and I'm going to say this, root against him. A lot of you root against Julio Rodriguez. And I know why. It's because you're envious of him and because you need a scapegoat. And it's more the latter than the former. You need a scapegoat. So you've decided to make Julio Rodriguez that. Weird person to make your scapegoat, man. So, you're 2 games back. I believe you're a game back of the Tigers, one of the 2. You're either tied with the Tigers. It doesn't matter. They're 2 games back. And they got to pass 2 teams. And you're 5 games back in the division. And you're still in the same spot. you got to win all of your games. To truly feel like you control any of your destiny, you got to win the rest of your games. Well, that was true yesterday, and guess what they did? They won. That was true today. Guess what they did? They won. You got a good shot to win tomorrow. What's the pitching matchup? I feel like I haven't given you the pitching matchups lately, partially because it's just been, oh, that's right. Emerson Hancock against Max Scherzer. Who, look, Scherzer didn't look great that last time out. Hancock, I thought, for what he was facing, pitched fairly decently. They can win. Oh, there's no doubt they can win, especially if you can get to that bullpen. I'd appreciate you hitting like. I'd appreciate you subscribing if you haven't. I really appreciate the support. You guys are the best. And I appreciate the kind words on yesterday's video. I needed them. I very much needed them. So I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate an apology I received. It was awesome. There's a lot of good in this world. Let's just hope for the best. We'll be back tomorrow no matter what happens. We'll recap every single game. Good win. And great to see Julio have a game like that.